This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs the Playbook, and I have an old mentor, and I don't mean old in age. I mean he is a mentor to so many. Arthur Blank, everyone knows, co-founder of Home Depot, owner of Atlanta Falcons, owner of the Atlanta United, but he's much more than that. To me, he taught me the compassionate capitalism model. The book that I wrote is off of mentors like Arthur Blank, people who understand that they receive to give and they're inspired to give back to the community more than anything else. Mr. Blank, sir, welcome to the Playbook.
Well, thank you, David. I think any questions you want to ask me, I think you could probably answer yourself. Sounds like you've got the book down in your heart. But
oh, I love it. Well, I got to share a story with you to start because you'll laugh. Being an entrepreneur, being someone who has great emotional intelligence, knows people and human nature, and have built one of the greatest businesses in America on that. When I started at Leigh's, you were one of those people that I could not remember your name. And it was so funny. I just could not. Every time I saw you, I'd ask Leigh. And one time I asked Leigh, I go, Leigh, who is that? I go, every time I see him, my mind draws a blank. And he literally thought I was joking. He goes, you're kidding, right? I go, no, I literally draw a blank every time I see this guy. He goes, Dave, that's his name, Arthur Blank. And I was like, oh, so I've never forgotten your name since that. I could just draw the blank. Well, you've written a new book, Good Company. And, give me the premise of why, after this journey now, you've written this book. What is the message you'd like to share?
Well, I think it's probably very much like you've expressed. I think that what we have found, I think through the 23 years, launching HD with Bernie Marcus, my partner, and then, Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta United, a PGA Tour superstore, #1 golf retail in America, Mountain Sky, #1 dude ranch in the West, several ranches out West, and our foundation, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which has, been an incredible addition to not only housing Atlanta United, Atlanta Falcons, but in and of itself, an unbelievable facility. I think what we've found over that long period of time, was interesting, is that when I bought the Falcons, I got some good counsel from Robert Kraft, who, I had a story, tell about the story in the book, but basically I had breakfast with him when I was up in New York with Commissioner Tagliabue to get my owner orientation. And Robert said to me, you're going to hear a lot of things. The NFL is different, and you can't run the business the same way as you do, HD and all that kind of stuff. And he said, my viewpoint is that same values you have in place at HD will work in the NFL. So I think this story really is an extension of that. Is that what I have found is that not only with the Falcons, but all the other businesses and the entities I mentioned, those same set of values, those 6 core values, are exactly what we have put in place with no change at all, regardless of geography or, environment or situation, or whether it's fans, guests, customers, whoever we may be serving, always with associates. Have worked beautifully, both to lift both ends of the barbell. The weight on one side being the need for profitability, because you want to have a sustainable organization. Otherwise, it's great, 2 years it's gone, and it's not good for anything or anybody. On the other hand, all the things that you feel passionate about and I feel passionate about, and frankly, our younger population, our millennial population, cares very deeply about, and that is, having purpose. In their lives, having purpose beyond just making money, if you will. And I think the beauty of the book and the beauty of these stories, and ones that you're associated with, is that, you can have both. In fact, you need both, really, to really be able to be committed to the sustained success in all areas of life. And whether it's, people, profits, planet, or an acknowledgement, finally, the Business Roundtable, 192 of the senior executives in America today, who now publicly acknowledge that it's not just about making profits, but it's about, shareholder, share valuation, but also how is the environment for the associates, how is it for who we're serving, how is it for our suppliers, or the stakeholders as well. So I think this book tells stories of the way that same value set is communicated throughout all these different environments with the same degree of success. And in our case, 98% of the profitability is being recycled back into society through our family foundation. So it's a beautiful circle, of life, if you will. that we know works and works regardless of the situation.
It's amazing how those values can be a common denominator, no matter the variance of all the different businesses that you're involved, right. Philanthropies. I know you both of us, you're in the Junior Achievement Hall of Fame. I'm the now Chief Chancellor of Junior Achievement University with Bob Proctor and Jack Canfield, and we're giving all of our content to the kids. You know, one of the lessons or common denominators beyond the values that I think you stand for is what I call the need to, you must be what you can be, you know, living to your potential. Yeah. And it takes self-determination, drive, persistence, consistency in order to do that. I'd love for you to share some of your advice on how we do stay consistent, how we stay passionate and inspired so that we can live to our potential. Because I think, to me, that's the common denominator of great, successful people.
I think that's true. I think, you know, David, I think if you change, if you have a compass, think of it as a compass in life, if you will. If you change your direction every day, you know, every day you're going a different way. I mean, you're not, you know, there's no consistency to it, and you're not making progress. I think the beauty of a values-based approach to business, you know, or any sort of institution, is that it sets a compass in place that you can follow under any sort of, whether you're dealing with a COVID, a pandemic, an economy, social unrest, or a roaring economy. These values work, and they attract the right kind of associates, and they keep the right kind of associates, and they keep focused on the intangibles, if you will, the relationships between who you're serving, who's doing the serving, and the communities you're living in, with great consistency. And I think today our younger populations are becoming much more demanding of working in that kind of environment than they've ever been before.
One of the other things, there's a saying, you know, when you squeeze a lemon juice comes out. In other words, when we're under pressure, when things aren't going as planned, we really find out what's inside of us. And you really represent great composure, you know, and now, especially with the public always viewing us with telephones and everything, you know, your consistent composure is extraordinary. And for me, I remember Warren Moon, obviously my business partner over the last decade. He's a mentor of mine for the majesty of calmness. He, you know, in the Buffalo game, he had the same demeanor when they came back as he did when he was way ahead. You are the same way on and off the field as well, completely composed. You know, I had to learn that over, you know, my career. How do you stay composed when that pressure, when the lemon gets squeezed? What are some of the things that you do as far as mindset?
Well, I think, David, and I think you understand us having authored some books along these lines, is that, you know, this six core values, which we go into great detail in the books and give a lot of practical examples of how they apply, those become an anchor. Not an anchor in a sense of a weight, but an anchor in the sense of keeping you focused on making the right decisions for the right reasons. My mother had an expression: you make the right decisions for the right reasons and live with the consequences. So, you know, that's another way of saying is that you live by these values, you make decisions by these values, whether or not it's in booming times or difficult times, stressful times like we're living in right now. And that makes it easier to make those decisions, because you're not constantly switching the index or the dictionary or what you're, you know, it's not, you know, color of the day, fashion of the day, flavor of the day. It's what anchors you in life. And when you have your whole leadership team that understands these values and lives them, it's not articulating them, but living them and demonstrating them to other associates throughout your organization or our organizations, et cetera, then they're making the same decisions that you're going to make, and they're making them for all the right reasons. It's very rarely about what's right short term. Sometimes it is, but it's usually what's right over a longer term basis, and what's the best in the best interest of the people that we're serving, fans, guests, or customers, whatever it may be, and the associates who are serving them, and then doing the right thing by the communities that we're living in, not just in terms of philanthropy, but making the business decisions that will have the positive impact on the communities as well. Example of that, briefly, is we just made a decision about a month ago to close our open for the public guest ranch in Montana, Mountain Sky Guest Ranch. First time in 100 years, the ranch has been closed. And we did it. We had followed CDC protocols. We had, local health officials sign off on everything, et cetera. But we knew with 70% of our associates coming in from out of state, and close to 100% of associates coming nationally and internationally, there was no way we weren't going to have disease on our ranch properties. And our concern was the communities. A lot of our associates go back to live in these communities. They're bringing disease with them, and so we wanted to do the right thing for these communities that we're part of for 100 years. So community involvement is not just a question of social engagement and writing checks and things of that nature. That may be important, but also living as a good neighbor, understanding what a good neighbor would do, and understanding about that relationship as well. So, and as I said, I think that younger people today are becoming much more demanding about working with organizations that really care about those things. They need profitability, they know, because they want to have an organization that's going to be around, it's going to sustain itself. But they also want to have an organization they're proud of, that are making decisions for the right reasons, all stakeholders connected, and demonstrate that day in, day out. So when they go home, they tell their friends, family, their pets, if they listen to them, et cetera, about what they're doing all day, and they feel good about it. So, it's that whole Zen philosophy of getting work and play confused, and feeling a real sense of passion for what they're doing. So that's what we've engaged in all of our businesses, and that's what they've done at Home Depot. I mean, when I left the company at 250,000 associates, we're up to 450 now. Craig Menear is the chairman CEO today. He's done an incredible job, wonderful job. I hired him 30 years ago. He's done a brilliant job at growing the company. And, that reflects in the share price, which is, all-time high virtually every day now. But it's their belief, and they start every shareholders meeting 40 years into the business exactly the same way. They have the inverted pyramid with the customers on top, and Craig Menear, in this case, used to be Bernie and myself on the bottom, and the circle of values. And then they talk from there about the current business, but it always starts with those things. It never changes. And so, and I think that's true in all of our businesses, whether it be a ranch or stadium or football team, soccer team, golf business, whatever it may be, or really our foundations. So
there's so many lessons that I've learned from you, and from listening to videos and watching you and listening to conversations that you've had. That was one that I picked up on. I have started every single Monday morning meeting with our 4 core values: gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration. And sometimes I think some of the younger millennials may roll their eyes, especially now I get to see everybody on the screen. So they don't know I'm looking, they forget I'm there. But it's really important to be aligned, because I think wisdom comes from there. I remember also you shared a very interesting perspective of wisdom.
I want to reinforce one thing before you ask the
please.
question that you just said. Bernie and I were at HD together for 23 years. The message, our discussion of these values, these 6 core values, which we discuss here in our book, my book, is probably very much like your 4 key values that you discuss every Monday. And people would say to us, every time you guys talk to us, like for 23 years, you say the same things. And you know what? And that was true. We would color the stories and, make it a little more entertaining, et cetera. But the essence was always around those values. So there's real value in that. And the real value in that, there was never confusion in the mind's eye of the associates about what we stood for and what we were about. So your Monday meetings, when you stress those 4 values in whatever way you do it, I mean, you say, well, they've already heard it 30 times. Well, they'll hear it 300 times, and it's never going to be enough, because they have to get into their brain and their mind and their heart and their spirit. That's what we're about. So I would continue doing that. Thank you for doing it. Go ahead with your question. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, because it's amazing. Before I learned the repetitive nature of teaching, I would have exit interviews, and I'd say, what are the 4 things that I've taught every single week that I wanted you to learn while you were here? And it would give me an ulcer. They couldn't even say the 4 things. And then I really started to figure out what you said, what Coach Holt said to me, right? It's not what you say, it's what they hear. And you have to tell them what you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them, and remind them what you told them. And you're lucky if they actually get it. But if they do, they'll change not only their lives, but they can help change other people's lives.
And I'll tell you, the most important part of that is extending that into doing to you doing, or Coach Holtz doing, or me, or any business leader that's watching this or listening, doing the values, living the values, because then they see them demonstrated, and it's not do what I say, it's do what I do. And so it's walking the talk. It's understanding that is that people see that example and they say, well, you know, shit, David doesn't mess around. He's doing the same stuff he's asking us to do. So he must really believe in this stuff. And, you know, in their mind, they say to themselves, if I want to become closer to David, promote myself in the company, move ahead, I got to make sure my behavior is more in line with these four values and live them, because he's going to recognize that, because he recognizes that's the most important thing to him as the CEO of our organization.
Awesome. And then I just mentioned real quick your kind of philosophy and perspective on wisdom. I remember you combined it with imagination. Do you remember how you kind of framed wisdom before? It's like something like wisdom is nothing more than a confirmed imagination. Is that?
Yeah, I would that's a better, you know, that's a much more visual description than I would give. I love that. I'll have to remember expressing it that way. But I think that, you know, wisdom is, you know, your four values, our six values, this book expresses, talks about, et cetera. It's becoming convinced over time, seeing repetitively these values reinforced and the results of them being positive in all the things you care about, whether it be profitability, community involvement, associate involvement, engagement with who you're serving, et cetera, et cetera. And you become wiser as you say, you know, the truth of the matter is this stuff really works. I mean, this is not like, you know, just, okay, it's great for this time, but, you know, 2 weeks from now, 2 years from now, it'll be different. The beauty of our values that we discuss in this book is that they've lasted for over 40 years. And now in 6 different environments that are totally different in their setting, business setting, et cetera, each of these values work. They all work the same way and produce the same results. So.
And great results they have. Last question real quick. You know, one of the most difficult blends to me is the pragmatic world, the currency of money, an object of energy you put into the flow to get what you want here on earth. And then blending that with this higher purpose, with faith. And I know you and I share a lot of the same faith together as well, but there is a higher purpose that can be blended or reconciled with money. And, you know, my motto with Warren, we created our mission statements real simple. Let's make a lot of money to help a lot of people and have a lot of fun with our lives. You know, yeah, 3 really simple things.
I think that's wonderful. I mean, I would, and you know, your focus, I mean, I think we're a little further maybe to the left than that, but I mean, if you do those things, you're going to make a lot of money. And I think that's really the message in this book, is that this is all about relationships. It's about who you're serving. It's about who you're serving with, associates, et cetera, about the communities. It's about connecting all of these dots together and creating an environment where the associates feel like the purpose, the wisdom of the organization is not just making money. And today, I would suggest to you respectfully that the millennial population today, thank heavens, is caring more deeply about who they're associated with and why they're associated with certain organizations, because they are asking repetitively, you know, the same questions. Why am I here? What's my purpose? How can I make a difference in the lives of other people? And life, I think their view is that life, you know, is available to everybody. And what we do between the time we're born until the time we pass, you know, that's an opportunity to make an impact on other people's lives. And I want to do it personally in my life with a great family and kids and wife, spouse, whatever it may be. But I also want to do it, be connected to an organization that has a holy grail other than how much money can we put in the bank. They know that's important, because otherwise the organization's not going to be there. But if the organization is affecting who they're serving and the associates themselves and the communities in a bigger way, and that's kind of what, you know, the community, that's what these young people are asking for. Show us purpose, show us a more meaningful life. And I think that you see it, you can see it in many areas. One example is, you're maybe familiar with the work that Dr. Laurie Santos is doing at Yale University. I mean, there's an example for our listeners who don't know. She started this course on what makes people happy because the students asked for it. She had 30 her first year. She had 130 the second year, 300. Now has 1,500. It's the highest enrolled course in the history of Yale University, 204 years old. we have these kids that are asking to be signed up for this course, which is now taught online, is that help me think through the purpose of life, the purpose of why am I here and what am I doing and how can I have a bigger impact on the planet? How can I have a bigger impact on other people in my community and in a broad sense on everybody living beyond myself?
It's been amazing. I'm, as you know, on my journey mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, and have free trainings on Friday for that purpose. And they've got over 15,000 registrations last week.
Wow.
Started with 50 people in Leigh's office, has grown, now online. So there's a lot of people that need. Now, people ask me all the time, especially young entrepreneurs, what should I do? And I always say, surround yourself with the right people and the right ideas. Find a mentor. Well, I'm telling everyone right now, September 15th, The Good Company comes out. You need to surround yourself with the right ideas and the right people. This book and Mr. Blank, of course, are great mentors to figure out how you can have purpose, passion, and profitability in your life, value-based leadership, and what I call merchant leadership as well, with great servitude to everyone. Arthur, it's been an honor and a pleasure.
Well,
I know I'm going to miss your birthday. Birthday's right after. I thought you'd launch your book on your birthday a couple weeks short, but
yeah,
have a wonderful birthday.
But thank you very much. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your work. And if you speak to Leigh before me, tell him I said hello, if you will, please. Okay.
Absolutely.
God bless.
What a great mentor, Arthur Blank, here with David Meltzer, Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.